I've been doing Foodology for over 1.5 years, and you've been listening regularly, right? Great. Talked about so many dishes, so many flavors, and so many cuisines. And there's just one little thing about them all that can change the entire course of everything, even time. It's such an important thing that we obviously never ignore it, but also never give it much limelight just by itself. If it's there, it can make your guests lick their fingers. But if it isn't, everything would be a mess and completely unappetizing. Can you guess what I'm talking about? I'll give you some time. It's really easy. Or if you have access to any kind of kitchen right now, whether that's at your home or at your workplace, I'd suggest go there and see what the most significant ingredient is, which can make or break any savory dish. Just 4 letters. Go on. Still haven't gotten it? It's alright. It's salt. Surprised, right? Welcome. You're listening to TALRadio powered by Touch Your Life Foundation, and this is Foodology. I'm radio host Devansh, and on this show, I talk about the enormous world of a little word called food. It's so insignificant, yet the most significant ingredient in our kitchens. Salt, also known as table salt or sodium chloride, is an ionic compound with the chemical formula NaCl, and we've been studying it since we were kids. It represents a 1:1 ratio of sodium and chloride ions. To think early humans ate hunted and gathered food without any seasoning or salt, to be precise, simply makes me upset. Too little of salt can make an entire dish tasteless, no matter how extravagant its preparation may be. However, excessive salt consumption could result in serious health problems related to hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, although this might be a controversial topic in the near future. Sodium is essential for many body functions, including fluid balance, nerve health, nutrition absorption, and muscle function. Countless foods contain sodium, even foods that may taste sweet, such as bread, cereals, sauces, condiments, crackers, and soups. Salt is typically harvested from salt mines or by evaporating seawater or other mineral-rich waters. There are many kinds of salts available today, which I'll talk about further in today's episode. But before that, I want to ask you a question. When you buy groceries, how much does an average pack of common salt cost you? $1, $3, $5 maybe? It's just a teeny tiny seasoning, right? However, did you know that it was a precious commodity that played an important part in the development of the ancient world? For most of human history, salt was considered extremely valuable as gold among ancient civilizations. How and when did this ancient gold reach our kitchens? Early human hunters, thousands of years ago, obtained their sodium, or I'd say salt, from eating animal meat. As they turned to agriculture, their diets changed, and they found that salt, maybe through seawater, gave vegetables the same salty flavor that they were accustomed to with meat. Since I did an entire episode on pickles under the category of preservation, it's important to know that before the age of electricity and refrigeration, salt was the primary ingredient used to preserve food. Dehydration was the earliest curing process, and in order to preserve foods during dehydration, early civilizations salted foods to help desiccate them. And this practice is even common nowadays. Salt acts as a preservative by reducing the availability of water in foods, thereby depriving the microorganisms which use water as their nutrition source, and it decreases their enzymatic activity. The growth of pathogens and spoilage microorganisms is also avoided or delayed in the presence of salt. Used as a part of Egyptian religious offerings and valuable trade between the Phoenicians and their Mediterranean empire, salt and history have been inextricably intertwined for millennia. And a lot of cultures place great importance on this seasoning. About 4,700 years ago, the Chinese Ping Cao Kanmu, one of the earliest known writings, recorded more than 40 types of salt. It describes two methods of extracting and processing salt, similar to the methods which are used today. Roman soldiers were partly paid in salt. It is said that this is where we get the word soldier from, sal der, meaning to give salt. Did you know that during the French Revolution, in regions where salt was scarce, it was up to worth 20 times more than in salt-producing regions? A death penalty was applied for smuggling salt. Gabelle, which was a form of tax in France before the Revolution of 1789. And in the 15th century, the gabelle began to mean specifically the salt tax. That is, a tax on consumption of salt. Of course, the nobility, the clergy, and certain other privileged people were exempted. But this high rate and unequal distribution of gabelle provoked widespread contraband dealing in salt by smugglers. In India, in 1930, the salt tax essentially made it illegal to sell or produce salt in competition with the established British monopoly on salt production. The quest for salt also played a crucial role in several battles in the American Civil War. Even today, the history of salt touches our daily lives. The word salary was derived from the word salt. Salt was highly valued, and its production was legally restricted in ancient times, so it was historically used as a method of trade and currency. The word salad also comes from salt, and began with the early Romans salting their leafy greens and vegetables. Undeniably, the history of salt is both broad and unique, leaving its mark in cultures across the globe. If you're a culinary enthusiast, you definitely know that not all salt is white, and not all the salts are used the same. But if you're not that into the world of food, you probably wouldn't know, and that's alright. I didn't even know up until a few years ago. Technically, all salt is sea salt, even table salt, which is mined from rocks which were formed by ancient bodies of water that no longer exist. But even so, not all salts are the same, and they should not be used in the same way. Let's start with the most basic of all, table salt. This salt is also called iodized salt. It has very fine grains and contains potassium iodine and an anti-caking agent that helps prevent it from clumping. Because these anti-caking agents can give off a metallic taste when used in large quantities, table salt should not be used in savory recipes. It can be preferred for baking. Himalayan pink salt. Pink Himalayan salt is a type of salt that's naturally pink in color and mined near the Himalayas. Many people claim that it is loaded with minerals and provides incredible health benefits. For these reasons, pink Himalayan salt is often thought to be much healthier than regular table salt. It is chemically similar to table salt and contains up to 98% sodium chloride. The rest are all trace minerals such as potassium, magnesium, calcium, and more. All these trace minerals give the salt a light pink tint. Black salt. Though there are different types of black salt, Himalayan black salt is the most common one. It is a rock salt that comes from the salt mines of Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Nepal, and other locations in Himalayas. The use of black salt was first documented in Ayurvedic medicine. It has a pungent, savory and umami flavor, which is commonly used in Asian and Indian cuisine. Additionally, due to its subtle sulfurous aroma, similar to eggs, it is used in vegan cooking to provide an egg-like flavor. You may also see black lava salt, also called Hawaiian black salt, and it usually comes from Hawaii. Lava salt offers a distinctive earthy and smoky flavor to the dishes. Kosher salt. Kosher salt is a type of salt with large flake size that is suitable for the koshering process. Fleur de sel. This type of salt originally comes from the Brittany coast in France. This salt is not crushed or ground but rather harvested from the top of saltwater ponds, as the very top layer starts to crystallize. It is lower in sodium and higher in mineral content. The Italian version of fleur de sel is made in the same way, but with different waters. Spain and Portugal also have their own versions. Sal de gusano. Rock salt ground with dried warm lava, toasted along with chili peppers. It is a traditional Mexican salt and is used as a smoky seasoning. Persian blue diamond. Persian blue diamond salt is extracted from the salt mines in Persia. The mineral content of this unique salt gives it small flecks of blue on some of its crystals. Truffle salt. Truffle salt is one of the most common flavored salts. It is a great way to impact the subtle aroma of truffle into any dish without needing to buy actual truffles, which can be super expensive. Throughout history, salt had been primarily associated with food as a preserver and flavor enhancer. Its preserving properties for meat had been extended to the tanning of leather and embalming of dead bodies. Only in the 18th century was salt to become an industrial raw material for making other chemicals. And as time rolled on, salt seeped into so many different industries. Often, doctors suggest eating less salt to lower the sodium intake. And it's a good idea to keep an eye on the amount of salt in your diet, but do not avoid it entirely. After all, sodium helps your thyroid to function properly. Your thyroid plays an important role in your metabolism. But for your thyroid to work properly, your body needs the mineral iodine, which is found in many salted foods. Salt maintains the electrolyte balance in your body, which contributes to proper functioning of your organs and the metabolism. And as we all know, gargling with salt water can ease swelling and make a sore and scratchy throat feel better. Another use of salt is in the pharmaceutical industry. Salt is an ingredient that is commonly used to prepare saline solutions, as well as in the production of capsules. Sodium chloride is commonly used in soaps as an additive filler in solvents and detergents. Salt is often added as a filler to easily separate these chemicals. The use of salt in metal industry is also common. There are so many uses of salt outside your kitchens, and I don't think I need to talk about how you can use salt in your kitchen because most of you probably have been doing it for so many years and I know you do it incredibly. And even if you don't, it's alright. There's a bunch of salted snacks that you can pick up from the market anytime you want at your convenience. Salt is an omnipresent condiment in the US. In fact, you probably sprinkled a little on your food today, obviously, right? Salt has played a crucial role in ancestral food preparations for thousands of years. It has shaped civilizations and fueled revolutions. We cannot begin to imagine how our world would have looked like if salt did not catalyze all the revolutions our history has seen. Ships bearing salt from Egypt to Greece traversed the Mediterranean. As early as the 6th century, in the Sub-Sahara, Moorish merchants routinely traded salt, ounce for ounce, for gold. Yet, in the last few decades, salt has been made into somewhat of a villain, as it has been associated with hypertension and heart diseases. The idea that a low salt diet is better for all of us started a long time ago and was founded on flawed science without much data and information to back it up. However, this does not mean that salt is good for you either. If we do talk about whether salt is actually good for us or not, really comes down to deciding which type of salt we're talking about. Because there is a huge difference. For example, table salt and sea salt are entirely different. And how do you decide which one is good for you? Well, you should always choose a natural salt variety, like the Celtic mineral salt or the Himalayan pink salt. And always try to avoid any processed table salt varieties. Long story short, always look for natural foods, as natural as possible. You can even buy a whole rock crystal of Himalayan salt without having it being processed or turned into a powder, just the whole crystal itself. That's the kind of natural I'm talking about. Thank you so much for sticking around with me on this episode of Foodology. I had an incredible time talking to you. This is radio host Devansh, signing off. Hope you have a beautiful and a magical day ahead. See you soon.